Well, good morning, everyone. So, if you took a look in the newsletter, you saw that today's theme is taken from a very popular passage from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11. And I want to read that paragraph to you. It's called The Lamp of the Body. But before I read the paragraph, I want to situate the paragraph. Before verse 33, you've got words of admonition. Jesus says, and I'm not going to read the whole paragraph. He starts out, it's a wicked generation. It asks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it. He's very severe. And then we'll have the lamp of the body, which is our paragraph. And then following it, he says a lot of very severe words to the Pharisees and the experts in the law. So he eats with them afterwards, and the Pharisees are critical of him, and he admonishes them, woe to you, woe to you, woe to you. It follows with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 woe to you sentences in the following passage. He really lays it down very severely. So I think it's interesting that the writers of the Bible situate this very illuminating passage in between two very severe passages for us. And how can we relate to these severe passages? How can we soften them? If we know the person of Jesus and even what Jesus represents to be eternal compassion and love, what place does the severity have? What place? Especially when he makes big statements like, this is a wicked generation. Now that's a very dramatic statement to say of an entire generation. How can we look at that? I would say one way that we can is there is something of a stirring of a wake-up call, a stirring of a wake-up call. Think about if you've ever been in a relationship. It could be with a family member, a friend, in your spiritual community, where to you something because of grace is so obvious that you almost want to shake them. You almost want to say, don't you get it? Don't you see what's here right for us? Don't you see that this is really what's true, what's right? Don't you see that this is really of love? Don't you see that what we're doing doesn't make sense? I would situate those two passages in that way, with that loving tone. Because sometimes when we want to shake someone or shake the structure, many of you have shared your consternation about communities that you're in, about relationships that you're in, where you've had an experience that is so much of spirit, that is of the light of spirit, and somebody around you or those around you don't get it. And yet it's so simple, it's so clear. And you just want to go, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up. Just like you would wake a little child up in a gentle way where you shake them a little bit. That's how I would situate those passages. And that offers an entry point for us to this passage today. I'm going to read the passage in its entirety. In the newsletter, I only put part of it. No one lights a lamp and puts it in a place where it will be hidden or under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand so that those who come in may see the light. Your eye is the lamp of your body. When your eyes are healthy, your whole body also is filled with light. But when they are unhealthy, your body also is full of darkness. See to it then that the light within you is not darkness. Therefore, if your whole body is full of light and no part of it is dark, it will be just as full of light as when a lamp shines its light on you. So the ending statement is something external, even shining a light on you as well. And if you're already lit up, then light upon you is only going to reflect more light. Now, many of you know that my own vantage point with light and dark is situated with two words taken from the school of non-dual Shaiva Tantra that I ascribe to. And that light can be replaced with the word awake or aware. And dark can be replaced by the word ignorance. This way, there is a penetrating relationship we can have with light and with dark. And hopefully you did the exercise yesterday, because that's going to come into our meditation today. And if not, it's okay. You'll get the chance just to kind of conjure up a reference point to light and dark within you as we meditate. But when we situate it that way, awareness and ignorance, we then have a way of working with ourselves that moves us away from the tendency to self-judge. Self-judgment isn't the light. It isn't illuminating. It isn't a mechanism within us that provides and connects us to the source of all healing. Self-judgment is actually an action that steps away from the source where healing can happen. And if there is both awareness and ignorance within us, we can ask the question, how can I open up the places of darkness so that they too can wake up? They too can be shaken and come into real knowing, real freedom, real love. How can that happen? Well, let's focus a bit on this lamp image as giving us something to work with its building blocks. Now, if you have a freestanding lamp in your house and you plug that lamp in and that lamp is working well, the lamp is going to light up. Now, in the passage, the writer is referring and quoting Jesus in some way to the inward eye and the physical eye being the lamp. Now, if the eye is the lamp, that being the physical eye, we can stop there, or the inward eye is the lamp, then we can apply the image, apply the example that plugging in is to source. And the source is where the electrical current comes from. It's the wiring, and the source comes from to shine the light. That takes the responsibility a little bit off our shoulders to think that we have to be perfect in how we use our eyes. Because again, when we fail to use our eyes in a helpful way, we can move into self-judgment or blame or shame. We can cut off from the source. So if we use the eye, the physical eye or the inward eye, to focus in on the current that is within us, the current, then from the current, we can shine the light. We can turn the eye to the places of ignorance. And from the current, we can turn the eye to look outward, to shine light upon both awareness and ignorance. That is what I would say is the way of seeing things as they are, of seeing into the deeper reality, of moving into a penetrating stance with ourselves and with all around us. I'm going to give an example, and I'm thinking I used this story once before in something that we've done. So forgive me if you've heard the story, but it represents exactly what I'm speaking about. So when I was in formation in the Carmelite monastery, I had, after, I don't know, about 6 months, I had this very, very deep illumination. And with it came an ascent. And with that ascent, I was like, take me to the next level. That was my my framework for thinking about my relationship with God at the time. Take me to the next level. I'm here. I'm ready. I know there's more. In that, right after that ascent and right after that illumination, everything went haywire. Everything was going wrong. Everything. I was in charge one week of waking everybody up for matins at midnight, and my alarm started going haywire. I mean, it was just all, I was in this time when it seems like I was being completely unfaithful to anything that was my responsibility because everything external was going wild. And it was giving me a chance to just rest into spirit in the face of this happening and trust and let go of something that is very, very important in our lives. And that is reputation and image of ourselves. So, reputation is some of the hidden ways that we want to be seen and known by others. It's not always a bad thing. It's not that we necessarily want credibility in a puffed up way. We can have places within ourselves that, in our desire to connect with others, we want to be seen and we want to be held and we want to be understood for the integrity and the authenticity of who and what we are. Yet reputation isn't where the strength is. So when we put our reliance into it on any level, we're stopping short of where we can be really eternally seen. An image is how we view ourselves. And that is a lifetime work of dismantling ways we hold ourselves, ways we, even in natural human ways, hold up, I am faithful. We can rest into, I've given my all. And when we move away from image, we don't have to have a negative self-image. We just move away from having no self-reflection. Like even Paul in one of the passages says, I do not judge myself because judgment is God's alone. He moved to such a place of lack of self-reflection. And that's what happens when we are free of self-image. So that's what was happening at that time in my life. And one very, very, very deep place of ignorance got hit and triggered. We were gardening one night, and the novices, there were 4 of us, were kind of on this youthful zeal kick where we were pouring ourselves into acts of charity with lots of love and lots of joy and playfulness. And we were out gardening, and the leader in the community said to me, Sister Annunziata, can you go get the white bucket? And in a very moment of cosmic delusion, I thought, well, I don't want the credit of being charitable and getting the bucket. I bet Sister Madonna. I want to build her up and let her be charitable. And I said, it flew out of my mouth with no reflection. I bet Sister Madonna would love to go get the bucket. And that makes absolutely no sense, right? It seems like I'm just shirking the duty, shirking the invitation. I mean, it didn't come off at all with my intention. My intention was 100% love. I wanted her to get the merit mark, but it made no sense. Everybody looked at me like I had 2 heads. I thought I had 2 heads. And then we all kind of chuckled and it was over. It was done. And something in the air was strange about it. Well, I let go of it all. That night at Compline, which is night prayer after our recreation, we were kneeling there for our silent period of examination, and I could feel the air charged. The air was so charged, and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good. And then I heard steps from behind me, but I didn't look back, and it was the leader in the community. And she came up and she put a piece of paper right on my stall, boop, and walked back. And we're in grand silence now. So I looked down at the piece of paper and it said, well, that was a fine act of charity, having Sister Madonna go get the bucket. And it hit every trigger in me because she didn't see me. She didn't see my intention, and she didn't see that it was a silly, awkward moment. All she saw was somebody that was being uncharitable, and being lazy. So I hit two really deep triggers in me. I'm uncharitable and I'm lazy, which aren't true. I went into this inward frenzy. My palms were sweating. My heart was beating. I was really sad. I'm like, I just want to go tell her that that's not what I meant. I wanted to clear my name. I wanted to be free of the trigger. And as it was rolling around in me, my head was rolling around and my heart was beating. I couldn't concentrate on the chant for the evening. We left to go back to our cells to go to sleep, and I'm deeply, deeply triggered. And as I was halfway back to my cell, a moment of light within me went off. And I said, wow, if this is triggering me so deeply, there is something in me that needs to be healed. But I didn't know what it was. So I made the commitment that I would stay with it and I would clear my name the next day. I had to do that to give me some rest. I had to have this kind of interim point that I could make it to in order to endure how deeply triggered I was. I'm like, then I'll knock on her door at 10 a.m. and I'll clear my name. And that gave me like, okay, I can handle this till 10 a.m. Went to bed, woke up, was still in the state of being triggered at midnight. And as I was processing to the chaplain, I'm like, wow, if I am really still triggered, I can't go and clear my name. I want to know what this is. I want to stay with this until it shows me what it is. So I made that choice, that light within me. Let my eyes, my inward eyes that are my lamp, turn upon the triggered place within me that was ignorant and very, very, very upset. And I stayed with it. And what happened as I stayed with it is I would move away. My eyes that were not always filled with light would all of a sudden turn to judgment. Well, if you were holier, that was my mantra. If you were holier, you wouldn't be so triggered, which cut me off from source. And then I would notice, oh, that's another triggered place. So my eyes would move back, connected to source. That's another triggered place. And I would turn the light of love on holding it. And I carried an image that I was like just holding myself as a baby. And if a baby was screaming and crying, sometimes all you can do is hold yourself. So I kept staying. I would move away from being plugged into the wall with the source, unplug, and I'd plug back in and turn back to holding. I kept going, doing that over and over and over again. And then it happened. In a moment when my eyes were filled with light and I was holding myself deeply, deeply triggered, out of nowhere, a memory came up. And this memory was when we were very little, my sister and I. And my mom was praising my sister for being so loving. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She wasn't saying, you're loving and you're not. But I internalized this tendency my mom had to refer to my sister as so loving and not give me those words so often when that's all I wanted to be was loving. I internalized that I wasn't loving. I internalized it, that something in me had to work towards proving I was loving in a very subtle way, not in an arrogant way, very subtle, that I was a bit attached to female authority seeing me as loving. Well, what a perfect setup. A female person in authority in a monastery where we're in silence just judged me as not being loving and being lazy in being of service. So of course it would hit every trigger in me that had that deep, deep wound as a little girl. And as it, I'm giving you the play-by-play, but that's not how it happened. As this memory emerged, the light within me saw without words, wow, all my strength, all my security was not resting in who I truly was loving, but was resting in who I appeared to be. And I saw they were a disconnect because who I appeared to be to the leader was not who I was. They weren't like this, they were like this. And all my weight was here. All my light of my eyes was in this fall short place. And when I saw that, I didn't need to work to turn here. Something even bigger happened. The wiring within me connected to source illumined. And I said, I'm not loving. I didn't say it to myself this way. It emerged. I'm not loving. I am love, which is a larger, spacious quality of our essential nature. It contains the loving aspects, but it's much more beyond these transactional states. And I was free. And as in that passage at the end, it says, when the light shines on you, it sees only light. What was interesting is when that light emerged and the awareness flooded into the ignorance, everything externally disappeared. The leader, it was like the event had never happened. The leader didn't remember it. The nun that I shirked off the bucket duty on didn't remember it. It was like it had never happened. The light externally shined on the light that I had moved into. Very powerful lesson for us. Very powerful for me, because I'm still learning from that story in many ways in my life. So with that, our meditation today is going to be an exercise of allowing ourselves to plug into where the source is, and let that source shine on something within you that is ignorant, something within you that is what you've defined as something dark. Dark would be any tension that moves you away from the equanimity of your essential nature. Any tension that moves you away from the equanimity of your essential nature. Okay, I invite you to close your eyes. And with the eyes closed, bring your attention to your forehead, to the center where the third eye is located, the sixth chakra. And focus your attention on it. Imagine or sense that the third eye, the center point, is this whirling vortex of energy moving out from you on your forehead and moving out the back at the occipital ridge. And if you wish, you can take a hand and you can very lightly come about an inch away from the third eye on the forehead. And again, imagine, if you can't sense anything, or sense that this chakra is whirling. And in the whirling, open to it growing wider and wider. And notice that it is growing wider and shining a light, shining a light. It's bolstering your experience of the light that's at your center, the source, so that the lamp of your third eye can see things as they are. And now turn the lamp of your third eye inward and imagine or sense that this source that's shining through the third eye is moving inward to everything of you, to the places of beauty and awakeness, to the places of ignorance and what we might call darkness or unknowing. Let all that is your energetic body be washed. You can imagine that it's like cascading waves of light, or that it's like a lighthouse spotlight that shines fully within you. However you wish to shine this light. And now allow this light and the way it is lit by Source to move to one place within you where there is what you might call darkness, a tension that takes you away from your being. This can happen through image, memory, a location in the body, a sense of contraction, any way that you can allow the lamp of your third eye to shine upon this part of you that is defended, that doesn't want to come forward because of fear. And let the light of your being simply wash, simply be there. Be there. Not try to push or force, just be there. Like light, like the sun casts its rays upon the earth. It does so not with effort and force. It does so just because of the radiance of what it is. And though we're going to slowly bring this short meditation today to a close, I'd like to invite you today to revisit this practice as often as you can as you're washing the dishes, taking a shower, pausing for a moment in your life. You can even intentionalize that it continues even when you're doing tasks that take your mind and heart away. Work tasks, things you're doing with other people. And then notice at the end of the day, what has happened as this current of Source has moved through the lamp of the third eye to the place of darkness within you. Notice, notice. So we bring our short meditation today to a close. And I invite you to take your left hand and simply tap on the forehead a few times to help ground yourself. the ways that you've opened up to spaciousness and boundlessness. And then move and tap on your chest. And then when you're ready, draw the palms together in front of the heart and open your eyes with namaste. Namaste, my friends. Namaste.